Hello, my name is Dee. Welcome to my YouTube channel and welcome back if you have been here before. Today we are going to be doing a reading on messages from your spirit guides. So I'm going to be channeling during this reading, just getting any messages that I can pick up on from your guides, from spirit, whatever resonates with you most. And as always, we are going to have three choices. The first choice is this chunky piece of rose quartz. Second, pile 2 is going to be this piece of fluorite. And pile 3 with the malachite. And with that said, let's jump right into it. Pile 1, I believe this is rose quartz. I can't really tell, but it is one big chunky hunky piece of rose quartz or just clear quartz, but it does have some pink coloration to it. So, and it is beautiful. So pile 1, let's see what messages come through for you today. Okay, pile 1. Okay, so pile 1, one of the first things that's coming through here, the first thing that I got from the Queen of Wands in reverse was burning the candle at both ends. Nine of Cups comes out, and Nine of Cups to me can indicate that you're burning the candle at both ends. You are seeking pleasure in any way that you possibly can, seeking enjoyment in any way that you can. However, due to that, you have picked up some unhealthy habits with the devil. So the first thing that comes to mind is over drinking or overeating. This could, of course, be overspending. But there is something that you are overindulging in order to make yourself feel better. Because right now with this Queen of Wands in reverse, this to me can signify a few different things. Either you're going through something such as depression or anxiety, you are burning the candle at both ends, or whatever the expression is. I think I actually got it right this time. But you are doing the most. You are doing everything that you possibly can. You have so many responsibilities. You are responsible for others. You're responsible for yourself. And at this point, it really is like, how much more do you have to give? And I feel like a way that you're coping with that is through some unhealthy habit that you are partaking in. And not just partaking in, but overindulging in. And that's something that your guides want to draw your awareness to. That you're going to continue, unless you begin to enact some, let's say, real change within your life, this unhealthy coping mechanism is just going to get worse, and it's only going to make you feel more depressed or isolated or anxious than if you weren't partaking in that activity or habit. Okay? So I hope that that is making sense so far. Let's see what else we can get. And then we have Four of Pentacles. So Four of Pentacles tells me that this has been a coping mechanism that you've had for a very long time. Okay, so this is something, and not only that, but overindulgence as a whole might be a coping mechanism. And even like looking for pleasure, like that's another thing that's coming through here, is looking for pleasure in all the wrong places. So looking for pleasure in all the wrong places and or unhealthy coping mechanisms is something that has been with you for a long time. So let's just say, even if this habit is smoking weed, perhaps you started smoking weed when you were a teenager, and that's kind of your favorite coping mechanism now as an adult. Same thing with drinking alcohol. Same thing with overspending. Okay, whatever it is, or overeating. Maybe food, of course, is always a constant. That's always been a constant source of comfort for you. And that's something that you use to cope, like emotional eating as well. But this is something that you've held on to for a very long time. This is kind of like, for lack of a better way to put it, this is your thing. And this is your thing that you always go back to. But it's not fixing the problem. It's kind of like putting a Band-Aid on a bullet wound type of analogy, which I believe I got that cliche right too today. So I'm 2 for 2, at least in my own head. I'm 2 for 2 when it comes to cliches. But the Four of Pentacles in reverse also indicates to me that you might not be open to looking outside of this box that you have put yourself in. So again, if it's alcohol or overspending or overeating or over drinking, it's like you're, even perhaps amongst your like friend group or even your family, maybe that's like your thing. And people don't even, especially if it's something like alcohol or weed even, that might not even be something that people necessarily look at as a bad thing, but you know that it's like a crutch basically for you. That it's something, so even with that, like let's say you have, like, I'm just going to use alcohol as an example because we've got the Nine of Cups and the Devil. And Knight of Cups actually jumps out a little bit later. So like a lot of this is pointing to alcohol, but it could be literally any overindulgent activity. And I feel like food and alcohol come to mind first. Like if you are trying to develop better eating habits and then you have someone, you know, offering you food and then saying something to you such as, oh, come on, you always used to eat this cake that I make. Or like, I made this cake especially for you because it's your favorite. And now you're telling me you're on a diet. And I feel like it's the same thing that people who drink get a lot of the time. Like if you are trying to be sober for health reasons or any reason, you always get hit with that, oh, you're not drinking tonight, but you always drink, but you're so funny when you're drunk. And it's like these people tell you these things and it's not really quite a compliment. You know, if you know what I guess if you know, you know. And it's not really quite a compliment because that is something that at times you've known you use as a crutch. It's something that at times, like I said, it's your thing. People in your life, let's say, especially friends, might associate it with you and expect that type of behavior from you. And at this point in time, I do feel like you know that this is not working anymore. You're still burning the candle at both ends. You are still exhausted. You're still depressed. You're still anxious. This shit is not cutting it anymore. And even though this has been your thing, and even though it's been your thing for a while, whatever this, again, overindulgent behavior is, and I don't feel like it's an addiction. I feel like it's an overindulgence. And it is a coping mechanism. And of course, for some of us, it might be an addiction. But it feels more like something that you use to cope when you have particularly bad days, or again, it's your thing. It's your thing and you do it quite often. And people might associate it with you, and that's where you get, if you are trying to improve your health, or you are trying to cut out this bad behavior, you get some type of, let's say, flack or peer pressure from it. And what you're being urged to do is to begin to separate yourself from this bad habit and to begin to find healthier ways to channel your energy. Okay? Because whatever this sort of addictive, overindulgent behavior is, whatever this bad habit is, it's only throwing you deeper into the rabbit hole, or whatever you would like to call it. And your guides are calling for you to focus, again, channeling your energy into something that is healthy and productive, as well as something that is perhaps creative in nature. Okay, so if this does have something to do with it, really anything, if it has something to do with alcohol, if it has something to do with overspending, to try to develop habits and even hobbies that are more so creative in nature, so that way when you are looking for a pick-me-up or you are having a bad day, you're putting your time, effort, and energy into something that is creative, fun, and joyous, but is not necessarily unhealthy and overindulgent. Okay, Five of Pentacles jumps out next. First thing that came to mind was shame. So some of you might be ashamed of this habit. There might have been debts that have piled up. At times, maybe you have questioned if you are addicted to something, to whatever this is. At times, you may have wanted to move forward from this, but there has been that peer pressure or that flack or whatever resonates most to your situation. perhaps you have tried to move forward past this, but it is something that it's, again, it's your crutch. And I keep wanting to use the word clutch as well, like it's got its clutches around you type of thing. Okay, so with that, there's a lot of shame surrounding this, and there might also be a lot of shame, a lot of shame surrounding you. It's Six of Cups jumped out next, because what I wanted to say is there might be a lot of shame surrounding you asking for help, or you admitting that there's something wrong here. Okay, so whether that's even just going back to the original Queen of Wands, and even what comes to with the Devil, whether it's just that you're ashamed to admit that you've got really bad anxiety. Maybe you're ashamed to admit if this is about overspending, you're ashamed to admit the debt that you have incurred. And so on and so forth, whatever it might be. But there's some shame surrounding this, and I feel like there's shame surrounding both what you're coping about, and there's shame surrounding what you're using to cope. Okay, if that makes sense. Six of Cups would indicate reaching out and asking for help. Okay, it's also about treating yourself with compassion, treating yourself with kindness and compassion, rather than continuing to allow yourself to go downwardly, like rather than continuing to allow yourself to downwardly spiral into the pit of despair. Okay, that's what I'm getting from that. Okay, there's a need for you to reach out and ask for help when you need it. There's a need for you, even in this regard, especially with the Six of Cups, to reach out to friends, family members, loved ones, peers, etc., that have perhaps been in a similar situation, or like even, let's say, that are sober. Maybe people that struggled with a food addiction or disordered eating and saw their way out of it, because this could very well also be dealing with undereating just as much as it could be dealing with overeating. Okay, but again, reaching out, if it's like disordered eating, reaching out to support groups that deal with that. If it's an addiction that you feel like you are developing, reaching out to support groups that deal with that. Reaching out to friends and family members and loved ones that are non-judgmental and that are highly compassionate and highly supportive. Okay, because at this point, whatever you've got going on is not working anymore, I guess is the way that I want to say it. Like, it's at this point, it does. I'm just going to throw those back in because 2 cards came out. I'm just trying to get 1 card. But, like I said before, like at this point, whatever this coping mechanism is, it's like putting a Band-Aid on a bullet wound, type of thing. Okay, and then we get, so I'm going to focus the Oracle cards on advice and guidance, because so far this has just been, I feel like, your guides telling you that this is a habit you need to break, or that there are habits that you need to break when it comes to unhealthy coping mechanisms. If you're struggling like with something such as depression or anxiety, and if you're using unhealthy coping mechanisms, this is almost like I feel like it's honestly kind of your guides calling you out and just wanting you to, I guess, recognize how harmful this is, and how much this is allowing for you to continue onward in that perpetuated state of negativity that's occurring here. Because the Fool is indicative of recklessness, and the Star in reverse is indicative of hopelessness. And again, to me, we have had some advice and guidance, putting your energy into healthy, creative outlets and reaching out for help when you need it. Reaching out and accepting help when you need it. But then there's a lot of messages pertaining to how this coping mechanism is only making your anxiety or depression or whatever, insert mental health or emotional health affliction there. It's only making the issue worse. It's only making you feel more hopeless and more worthless. It's only continuing to drag you down. is what's continuing to come up here. Okay? So now let's pull some oracle cards. And again, I want to focus these on advice and guidance, because the messages from your guides are basically like, I do feel like that's a helpful message to hear, because like, let's say for something such as social anxiety, of course, the number one cure, the number one cure that you'll hear is like either drinking, maybe smoking weed, but I know I usually hear drinking. And I've absolutely done it myself too. If I'm going to be in a social situation or I feel anxious about it, I'll have a drink. And that cures the social anxiety, but it really doesn't. It only makes the issue worse. So, and that's basically what's coming out here. You know, if there's some type of whatever it is, but that's one of the first things that came to my mind, is like, you're only making the issue worse by continuing to partake in this overindulgent behavior. Okay, so as far as advice and guidance, we first start with the peace card. Hopefully you can see it and there is not a glare. And it shows a woman meditating. So again, I feel like you're being urged to channel your energy into healthy and or creative habits. You're being urged to also begin to help yourself, begin to develop that sense of inner peace. You know, again, the healthy creative habits can have such a wide array of options and activities that you could be doing. But this card of inner peace, or of peace, I feel like is an indication of there's yet again healthier outlets versus whatever this overindulgent behavior is. You know, like, instead of smoking or drinking or swiping your credit card, perhaps sitting down for even just 5 minutes and focusing on your breath, or doing a quick guided meditation, and so on and so forth. There's other options that you have that will be healthy coping mechanisms and healthy methods of self-care and of self-healing, versus whatever this unhealthy coping mechanism is. Okay? Then we have the sovereignty card jump out next. And I feel like this is really interesting when paired with the Four of Pentacles, because when it jumped out, the first thing that I got from it was how you are in control of your own actions. And I feel like at times, especially now, if I could pick the cards up, especially with the Devil and the Four of Pentacles, you might feel like this habit has control over you. You know, and with that is, you know, you might feel like, I need this every day. Or like, this situation happened, so now I need this to help me get through. Or, I'm going to a party tonight, I need to at least be tipsy by the time I get there. And whatever you are using to cope, you feel like it has a hold over you. You feel like it has control over you. And your guides are like, no, 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 honey. You have control over it. And I also feel like that even just stems from like one of those other classic lines, which now that I'm so excited I might get a third cliche right, I'm gonna butcher it. But it's basically that classic, like, you need to want help to get help. And that's another thing that I feel like is coming through here. Like, you know that this is an unhealthy coping mechanism, and you have all of the sovereignty, all of the control to begin to develop these healthier coping mechanisms. So it's kind of also this message of, this is up to you, but you have to stop lying to yourself and telling yourself that this is you have to stop lying to yourself that this thing has control over you, or that this thing has you in its clutches. Okay, we have the attraction card, and then we also have extremes jumping out. And I feel like this is more so, again, indicating that when you are feeling very depressed or very anxious or whatever, that this is something that you turn to. Okay, that this is something that's attractive to you, even that this is something that you've always perhaps had in your life, or again have had in your life for a very long time, as a coping mechanism or as a way to self-soothe. Then we had surrender pop out, and we also have protection. So I feel like surrender is basically indicating that first of all, it's time for you to give it up. Like whatever this bad habit is, it's time for you to give it up. And I also feel like, but I could be wrong, it's almost making me want to pause to look it up, that even when it comes to something such as AA, the whole surrendering to a higher power thing comes up, and even just in general, I do feel like this is something that you kind of have to put up the white flag for and surrender. You kind of have to begin to throw in your hat to whatever this overindulgent behavior is, because it's not something that is helping anymore. It might not have ever helped. At times you might have felt like it helped, but again, at this point, you're feeling some shame surrounding this. You're starting to feel like this is just continuing to throw you into that pit of despair. And it's time for you to begin to develop these healthier coping mechanisms, or healthier habits to turn to. And we have the protection card as well. Yet again, indicating that this is something that you're going to need to begin to cut out of your life. That this is something that you're going to need to begin to give up. The protection card, I feel like, is also indicating the, divine protection calling upon your guides, whatever it is that my camera died toward the end of me speaking on the protection card, so I'm sorry if I repeat myself just to get the message out. But with that protection card, it's also indicating to you that you do have divine protection, that you do have the strength as well as the spirit team backing you up to help you through this period of time, especially when you transition from, using these unhealthy coping mechanisms to turning to creative outlets to focus your energy on. I also feel like the protection card is indicative of you having to protect yourself, of you having to perhaps avoid triggering situations or triggering people in your life as you begin to release this bad habit. Okay, as you begin to release yourself from whatever this habit is. Okay, so one thing that I did the last time I did a reading like this was go through signs for confirmation or signs of confirmation, just so that you can better tell that this message was for you. One thing that I'm getting from this is if you have, or like even last night, or if you typically do sleep with a cup of water by your bed, that would be a sign that this message was meant for you. Birds, or especially baby birds, if you have any nesting in your backyard per se, that would be another sign that this message was meant for you. Black cats would be a sign that the message was meant for you. Either like if you have some, then yeah, I have 5 black cats, but that could be a signifier. But also if you just happen to see one, if you don't have cats, as well as the numbers 4, 444, 44, whatever it may be, but 4s and 6s. If you've been seeing the number 666, if you've been seeing the number 444, and again, any repeating numbers that include those numbers, okay, would be perhaps another sign or another confirmation that this message was meant for you. So thank you so much. And especially, I do want to say, especially red birds, or darker, like that reddish brown color, let's say, but especially red birds. So I believe that would be cardinals. If you've been seeing cardinals a lot, then that's like super duper confirmation that this message was meant for you. So Thank you so much, Pile 1, for allowing me to read for you today. I hope that this message was able to bring you some insight into what your guides have been trying to get through to you. So thank you so much for joining me here, and I hope that you have a wonderful day. Hello, Pile 2, my fluorite pile. So now we are going to see what messages your spirit guides have for you. Okay, really just looking for any messages to come through here. And then at the end, I'm going to do some signs or some confirmations so that you can know that this message was truly meant for you. Okay, pile 2, let's see. Piles 2, to see, to measure. The first thing I got was they see you working. They see you working endlessly without any type of like routine or strategy in place. So the first bit of advice that I'm getting from this is basically that there needs to be some type of structure. There absolutely needs to be some type of structure, because at this point you're just kind of driving yourself a little bit crazy. You're driving yourself a little bit batty. You need to have, okay, so start out with the Eight of Pentacles. Eight of Pentacles, first thing I get from this is they see you working. And even with this, I heard they see you working endlessly. So to me, this can indicate that, especially with the Eight of Pentacles, this might be some type of craft that you do. So this might be something that you're creating yourself, whether it's some type of artwork, or it could literally be you going to work and you just endlessly pushing yourself. And you might not have very good boundaries when it comes to your job, if this is more so of a day job. But if this is some type of craft, especially if you are self-employed or you're trying to go into your own business type of thing, it's especially about routine and how this lack of structure that you currently have is causing for you to burn out. You know, there's just overall, this is a huge message of burnout, or that getting burnt out is on the way for you. Just because where we started with this message of like them watching you work endlessly, work tirelessly, to then be followed with like you need to have some type of structure or routine attached to that, or you're going to continue to feel worse. And then that's when there's going to be a lack of creativity, a lack of motivation, a lack of creativity, a lack of motivation, and just at times really not having the energy to do much of anything. So there needs to be some type of routine put in place so that you can continue to work diligently toward your goal, but actually make it. Because you barreling through this goal is not going to have the results that you're looking for. Okay, I hope that that makes sense, but that's a major thing that's coming through here. You know, that at this point you might be barreling forward. There's no routine, there's no structure, there's no strategy. And there needs to be some type of routine or structure or strategy before you completely burn yourself out. And by you burning yourself out as well, what's the message? By you burning yourself out as well. Well, I just had 2 sixes, actually. Oh my god, now a third one. So, what's so fucked up? So, first of all, a sign or confirmation, whether or not the other 6s make an appearance. When I was shuffling, I don't know if you could see it fully, but it was 6 of Pentacles in reverse, and it was 6 of Cups in reverse, and then the 6 of Swords in reverse jumped out. Okay, so that's pretty major for me, but they jumped out on like a stack of cards. They kind of started to flip, but they didn't all the way flip, which is why I just put the deck back together, because it would have been way too many cards that had fallen out. But the fact that those 2 cards were on top, and then again see another 6 in reverse, is indicative that you barreling toward this goal is actually it's having the opposite effect of what you would like it to. Or in the long run, it's going to have the opposite effect of what you would like it to. To see sixes in reverse, I usually look at sixes in tarot as growth. As you beginning to evolve, as you beginning to really make progress moving forward towards something. So to see two reverse sixes on the top of a huge pile that would have exploded all over my table, and then to have the Six of Swords in reverse jump out, this is indicating that the more that you barrel toward this thing that you badly want for yourself without having some type of structure in place, the more unstable you're going to feel, and the more unstable perhaps even this goal is going to become. So basically the message that I'm getting here, I just want to try to make it as compact, I guess, as possible, is, or at least what this is reminding me of, is when you are really gung-ho to get something done, and then you end up burning yourself out before you can make it to the finish line. And that's something that is occurring right here. The Six of Swords in reverse can indicate changing plans, canceling plans, abandoning goals in this case. And to me, you might get so, if you continue without any strategy and you just continue to barrel forward, this lack of creativity and lack of motivation that's going to begin to erupt because you are so burnt out is going to lead to you abandoning this entire cause. It's going to lead to you perhaps abandoning what it is that you have been working so endlessly and tirelessly for. So you're being urged to really begin to put a structure in place, a routine in place, a strategy in place. And you're also being urged to give back to yourself at this time, because you might already be beginning to feel like you are burning yourself out. You might already be beginning to feel like your mental or emotional health is starting to slip. And that's because you've just been barreling forward. Or again, if this is you at a 9 to 5 type of job, even, you're working so much, it doesn't seem like it's quite a 9 to 5 anymore. It seems like it's an all day, all weekend event for you. And if you don't begin to set some boundaries with your company, and if this is a solo entrepreneur type of thing, if you don't even begin to, let's say, set some boundaries with yourself and create boundaries with clients, with partners, with so on and so forth, you're going to end up really at the end of the day perhaps saying, fuck this is not worth it. This is not worth it for me. This thing has taken over my entire life. I had the Fool jump out. The Fool to me is yet again, in some way, shape, or form, you barreling forward through this. But another thing that I get too from this as a whole is, has this happened to you before? Has this happened to you before, where you've had these, like, I'm going to say like grand plans, and I'm not even saying it in a sarcastic type of way, where you've had these grand plans, these great ideas, these mega goals that you have been going after, and then you end up burning yourself out and it's on to the next. I also feel like an important message that's coming through here is basically you started this and now it's time to see it through. And part of the reason why you might have such difficulty seeing projects through, seeing goals through, is because you're so quick to give up once you burn yourself out. What's coming through here is that it doesn't feel like to me that this is indicative of you, basically just giving things up to give things up. I feel like you hit that point of exhaustion for yourself, so even at times so early on in previous projects or goals, that because of how endlessly and tirelessly you work toward them, that it's not like it's almost like you weren't able to see what it could have brought you. You know, you weren't able to see. So basically, something to take away from this as well is to, yeah. So, of course, some of these things perhaps that you have tried to do in the past have not been financially fruitful. But part of the reason why they have not been financially fruitful is because you lost steam after a while. It's because you exhausted yourself and you couldn't show up. You know, you lost that ability to continue to show up for what your goal was or what your project was. Okay? But I do also feel like, I feel like another thing too is you push yourself so much because you have had quote unquote failures in the past, and these failures have left this mark on you where you, it's almost like, and I also feel like that's part of the reason why you keep pushing yourself so much. But at the same time, that I feel like the overall message here is that you haven't learned your lesson, that you've done this before. You've fought your way, clawed your way toward a goal only to burn yourself out in the past as well. And you look at these things as failures, and you look at these things as you didn't work hard enough to achieve them. And that is not the case. Okay? Like, that is not the case. It's not that that you didn't work hard enough. It's even perhaps maybe that you worked too hard. You burnt yourself out and you had nothing left to give. You had no more creative spark. You didn't have a strategy or a routine in place to kind of keep yourself in line. And you just kept barreling toward whatever this was in a way that was unhealthy, in a way that was ungrounded, in a way that felt very destabilizing, in a way that made you begin to feel mentally and emotionally unstable because you put all of your time, effort, and energy into this and forgot about everything else in your life. You forgot about yourself, you forgot about self-care, you forgot about looking for joy in different places, and you're looking at these other events from your past, let's say, as failures. And at times you might even look at what you're doing right now as that you might be failing at it or that you might not be working hard enough. But in reality, I think what the issue is that you're focusing too much on this one thing and you're not allowing yourself any time to live, eat, or breathe. You know, you're not allowing yourself any time to take care of yourself. And that's what's causing you to burn out. And that's what's causing you to give up or change or to abandon these plans and these grand plans, these grand ideas that you have. Oh my goodness. And with that, the words of advice, we have two heavy hitters here. We have the Temperance card jump out, and we have the High Priestess. Okay, so what you're being urged to do right now, before I get into the Oracle cards, which I'm strictly pulling for advice and guidance, what you're being urged to do right now is to focus on maintaining inner balance and inner peace. Okay, especially if this is like you are self-employed or you are employed and trying to work on a business, or even if you are working at a business, there's some type of boundaries that you need to, if this is a 9-to-5 job that you have and you're feeling burnt out, you need to start employing some type of boundaries here. You need to start setting some type of healthy professional boundaries. Same thing if you're self-employed or you're trying to go into business for yourself. You also, again, need to maintain this inner balance. You need to focus on self-care. You need to focus on meditative work. You need to focus on maintaining this sense of inner peace. The High Priestess jumps out next. The High Priestess is a card of intuition. And again, of coming back into balance and coming into alignment. Okay, so your main focus right now, or the main piece of advice and guidance, is to really focus on yourself more, and also to focus on things that you want to do. Okay, focus on things that take you even away from whatever this project or this work that you're doing is, because you are burning yourself out already, and you need to start moving back into alignment. And as far as advice and guidance, we have the Fear card, followed by the balance card. Okay, so the fear card to me is yet again, or it's laying context, let's say, that you are very fearful that whatever it is that you're doing is right now is going to fail. And I feel like that is stemming from these messages that we got earlier from the tarot cards that indicated you feel like you have failed in the past, or you feel like there's been, like you feel like you've seen this situation before and it's happening again. And it's more so happening again because of a lack of structure, a lack of routine, a lack of creativity, a lack of motivation because of you working yourself endlessly and tirelessly. The fear here is yet again that you are not working hard enough to reach your goal. When in reality, what's occurring here is you're losing steam, or one of the main reasons why you do begin to lose steam is because you're not taking care of yourself. Okay? We move forward toward the balance card. The balance card is picking up right where Temperance and the High Priestess left off. You need to start maintaining, or even beginning to focus on your inner balance, to focus on inner peace, to focus on, meditative work and self-care. Okay. We have the protection card jumping out next. I feel like the protection card is almost, for as silly as this may sound, the one thing that I got is like protecting you from yourself. And I also feel like what's being indicated with the protection card, and this card jumped out for pile 1 and I got a similar message of divine protection. I also feel like this is an indication that whatever it is that you're doing is divinely protected and it's divinely guided as well. But the protection card also for this pile brought me this message of, you kind of having to protect yourself from yourself because you push your own boundaries. You push yourself too much, like you really are too hard on yourself. And that could be a whole other aspect of this as well. That you are way too hard on yourself. You expect way too much from yourself. And at times you do need to focus on taking care of yourself versus whatever this is. We then have the masculine. The masculine speaks to divine inspired action. And divine inspired action, or taking action toward whatever this project or goal is a lot different than you barreling through it. The divine inspired action speaks to you being intentional about what it is that you are doing. And right now, in whatever it is that you're doing, there does seem to be this lack of intention that's taking place. You're doing things just to do things, to get them out there. You're doing things just to do them because you think it's going to propel you forward. But there's a lack of that, let's say, inspiration, and there's a lack of intention behind what it is that you are doing. Okay, I hope that that makes sense. And let's see if we can get one more oracle card as far as it comes to... Yeah, he's fallen. We have acceptance. Okay, the acceptance card jumps down, and I feel like this is about self-acceptance. You need to begin to accept that you are not capable of doing it all and being it all. You're not capable of creating it all, putting it all out there. There's a need for you to accept when your mind, body, and soul tell you that they need a break. Okay, and that's what this card is referencing. That's what your guides want you to know. Pay attention to yourself and pay attention to how you are feeling. If you do not feel like you can continue to endlessly or tirelessly work, even if it's just on a day-by-day basis, okay, and on a personal note too, even when it comes to myself, what I try to do now is set a routine for myself or a schedule for the day. And if I don't feel up to it, if I'm not mentally there, if my body is telling me, hey, you need to like just lay down and rest for a couple minutes or for 10 hours, and it's just this inner knowing of I'm not in the place right now to do whatever it is that I need to do. And I feel like that's what's coming through here. That's what this acceptance card is reminding me of, is learning how to accept what you need. Learning how to accept when you need a break. Learning how to listen to your mind, your body, and your soul. And if you are not up to the task, it is more worth your while to take the time that you need to focus on self-care. It's more important for you to focus on what it is that your mind, your body, and your soul are telling you that you need to do. It's more important to listen to what it is that you need than it is to continue to burn yourself out and barrel through whatever it is you're trying to do. Okay, so I really hope that that made sense. As far as, what number are you? As far as confirmation, okay, we have one thing that kept coming up here is yellow flowers. So if you've been seeing yellow flowers a lot, that would be a sign of confirmation. I believe these are pomegranates. And if not, then that's what we're going with. Because my eyes zoned right in on them on the High Priestess's card. Pomegranates. We have the numbers 2, we have the number 6. So if you've been seeing 222, 666, that would be another sign of confirmation for you. And the other big one throughout this is birds. Okay. In the first pile, it was like very specific in coloring, but on these cards, we have blackbirds, we have a red bird, and we have white birds as well. And the other thing that kept coming to mind was butterflies. Okay, so if you've been seeing these things more often than, let's say, you ever have, the numbers 2, the number 6, and even the number 4. 444, 222, 666, or any combination of those numbers, that would perhaps be another sign or another bit of confirmation that this message was meant for you to hear. So thank you so much, Pile 2, for allowing me to read for you today. I hope that this was able to bring you some insight. And thank you. I hope that you have a wonderful day. Hello, Pile 3, my Malachite pile. So today, we are going to be looking for messages from your spirit guides, and at the end I'm going to do a little bit of confirmation. That way you can know if the message is truly meant for you. Okay? So, pile 3, let's see, what do your guides have to say? What have they been trying to get across to you? Okay, the first thing that I got, the Lovers in reverse jumped out, and I got this message of focus on where you feel imbalanced within your life. Next card to jump out was the Three of Wands in reverse. But they're asking for you to look at where you're beginning to feel imbalanced within your life, because that is a major thing that is holding you back, and it's a major area of your life where you're holding on to trauma. There's a need to release yourself from that. The Death card jumped out. So focus on the areas of your life where you are beginning to feel imbalanced. So for some of you, this might be your love life. You might feel like, there's a plague on you in regard to your love life. When it comes to your career, you might feel like you are, lost and miserable. You're doubting yourself. You're doubting your abilities. And I also feel like you're doubting the ability that you have to heal, or the ability that you have to change, the ability that you have to release this trauma, the ability that you have to see the silver lining. And at times you might not be able to see the silver lining in the troubles or the issues or the imbalances that you have gone throughout your life. There's a need for you to look at some of the shit that's occurred as a learning experience and use that to fuel a time of personal and spiritual growth for yourself, rather than using it as a time to continue to be hard on yourself, as a time to continue to feel miserable about your life. And I feel like for most of us that are watching this, it's one area of life in particular. Like there's one area within your life that you just feel like you're not experiencing any forward movement. And what you're being urged to pay attention to is the trauma that you have incurred because of that. So, for example, if it's a career move, perhaps you got fired from a job. If it's even just in regard to your workplace, like you feel like your workplace is extremely imbalanced, it's time for you to call attention to or bring attention to perhaps the way in which you've dealt with a hostile work environment type of thing. But you're being asked to begin to focus on that imbalance and where you're feeling that imbalance so that you can begin to work through it and heal from it versus burying the emotions that it has made you feel versus ignoring or neglecting the ways in which this has affected you. And like even in particular to your love life, let's say, especially to see a card like the Lovers in reverse being followed by a Ten of Swords would indicate some type of betrayal, within your love life. And maybe this betrayal has been something that you really have never been able to get over, or that this betrayal is something that you still hold on to. It's something that you still hold on to and you've never really gotten past. Or if, let's just say, you were in or you do move forward into a new relationship, you're carrying that baggage with you because there's still parts of it or parts of yourself that you're not allowing to heal because the imbalance or the painfulness of the memories are too much. You feel like they're too much to delve into. But there's still a piece of this that you're holding on to. And rather than looking at it as this horrible, miserable thing and you'll never be able to trust anyone again, or looking at it as this, horrible work environment and you'll never know how you'll cope or survive there if it is a job that you want to keep. Or looking at a failed business attempt as I'll never try to do anything like that again because I'm a loser and I failed the first time. Watch the way in which you are speaking to yourself when it comes to certain areas of your life is the main message that I'm getting here. Because a lot of things that have been sent to you in regard to universal truths, a lot of, lessons, karmic lessons, let's say, that you have been meant to be learning are getting somewhat lost on you because you're not looking at them as a lesson learned. You're looking at everything as just more trauma, more pain, a reason to continue to not make any progress or to not make any forward movement. Okay. I also feel like, or at least I'm getting the message of, that you might be the type of person as well that really does what other people expect or want them to do. Okay, so whether that's like and yet that is causing for you to block your own success because you might listen to you might put other people's opinions over your own. I guess pile 3, every single card is going to fall. You might put other people's opinions above your own. You might look to other people for guidance who do not necessarily have your best interest at heart. Okay? And as I'm saying that, the Hermit jumped out. So you're being urged to make your own decisions, form your own opinions. And it's one thing if you're looking to somebody for advice and guidance, but it's another thing if somebody's kind of, let's say, exerting their control or exerting their opinion over you in a way that allows for them to have some type of power over you. And I started to get all of these messages when it comes to the Three of Cups in reverse and the Nine of Wands in reverse. That you're listening to this chatter from people that don't really know what is best for you, because at the end of the day, only you yourself know what is best for you. So you keep taking these other people's opinions to heart and doing whatever it is that they expect for you to do. So let's say if it is a parental situation and this has to do with your career, maybe you are basically just taking their word for it and listening to what it is that they think that you should do. And now you've adopted that as your own. So you're not making any forward movement or any progress within your career because you're listening to somebody else's mindset, and perhaps somebody else's mindset is not what is truly in your best interest or what is best for you. Now, the Three of Cups in reverse at times can indicate that this could be somewhat malicious. I don't feel like it's malicious for everybody or in every situation, but there might be people in your life that you are listening to that are holding you back for malicious reasons. The 3 here would indicate something such as jealousy. A little bit later to see the Knight of Wands, even though he's upright, that could also indicate jealousy. So also be careful of whose advice you're taking is another huge message. And I feel like another reason why the Death card and the Hermit card made an appearance here. You know, be careful of whose opinion you're taking. Because right now what you should be focusing on is harnessing your intuition in order to move forward versus listening to everybody else's around you. You also need to begin to develop a stronger sense of inner guidance or intuition. And the other thing that I wanted to say is really in regard to spiritual and personal growth. It's a personal journey. It's not a journey. Your journey is not going to be a journey that anybody or everybody else understands. And that's perfectly okay. But because of this lack of understanding from people's opinions that are outside of yours, you're going to continue to feel frustrated, and you're going to continue to feel like your progress or making any progress is impeded the more that you listen to these other opinions that are outside of yourself. And I feel like this could even, and again, be taking place within your love life. You know, maybe you have certain people maybe there's people trying to set you up with someone, and you feel like you're not ready because you feel like you still have some personal work to do. Or people trying to push you into dating. And so on and so forth. And even when it comes to if you're in a relationship, you know, you might be taking all of this advice and guidance from other people, but are you listening to what it is that you truly want? You may feel like the relationship has gone stagnant. You may feel like there's been betrayals or pain that this relationship has brought you versus happiness and joy. And you're taking all of these other people's opinions, even perhaps at times thinking like, what would so-and-so think? What would so-and-so do? What would so-and-so say? Well, what would you say? And what would you do? And what do you think? Because at this point in your life, that is what is mattering most. Nobody else. We have the Knight of Wands. Knight of Wands to me is indicating that there's shit that you got to start doing for yourself. When it comes to independence, but it also comes to, you know, free thinking, free-spiritedness even. There's this need for you to break off from something or someone, or maybe even some people. There's a need for you to break away from that and to begin to feel more independent or do more things independently. And I also feel like in this regard, there's a need for you to focus on 2 things. Perhaps joy, you know, joy, fun, excitement, things that you find enjoyable. But there's also this need for you. I just lost it. I had a brain fart, so I had to pause. But the message here from the Knight of Swords is not only to focus on what's enjoyable, what's exciting, what's fun, what you find enjoyable, but also to focus on new experiences, trying something new, putting yourself out there to try something new. Okay, and again, whether it's creatively, whether it's career-wise, whether it is a relationship issue or a singlehood issue, there's a need for you to begin to experience new things. Okay, and to put yourself out there to experience new things. Because apparently, or what's coming out here, not apparently, that sounded harsh, but what the message that I'm getting from this is that these new experiences are going to help you to feel more independent. These new experiences are going to help you on your personal and spiritual growth journey. These new experiences are going to help you to reconnect to yourself and to be able to reconnect to the sense of independence, to feel more self-assured and to feel more confident in the decisions that you are making or have to make. Let's see if we can get another tarot card. If not, we might just move forward. Oh, there we go. I told him I was going to put him down, and he was like, no. So we have the Star jumping out last. Okay, another heavy hit. Actually, no, that was a joke I made in the first one because we had some heavy hitters, and we do. We have 4 major Arcana cards jumping out of 9. Okay, we have the Star jumping out next. This is again calling for you to reconnect to yourself, perhaps reconnecting to your intuition. This is calling for you to focus on creativity. It's also calling for you to focus on healing. Okay, there are things that need to be healed from. There's also things that you might look at as, you know, tragedies and traumas and heartbreaks and pains that have all culminated in you not making or not wanting to make any progressive movement forward towards something. And in the end, it's almost like, in the end, it's like you've given up hope on whatever aspect of this life, on whatever aspect of your life this has been resonating for. You've been starting to give up hope, and your guides want you to know you're not quite hopeless, but you need to stop looking at this thing, whatever it was, as the end all be all. Whatever this pain was that has caused you to stop moving and stop doing anything for this imbalanced part of your life. You're being called to begin to recognize that it's not that hopeless, but there are things that you need to start doing. There are lessons that you should have or could have and can still take from whatever it was that has occurred here. Okay, and focus on these things as lessons learned versus getting lost in or stuck in the painfulness of them. Okay, I hope that makes sense. And even as I say, I'm pretty sure I just used the word focus, and as I say that, the focus card jumps out. And again, first of all, focus. I feel like the focus card can represent so many different parts of what's come out here. You know, focus on yourself and on your own opinions. Focus on what is best for you and what is in your best interest. Begin to take away focus from external opinions because they are leaving you more stuck and even in a way, in a huge way, more unhappy with whatever your current situation is because you're not listening to your inner guidance. You're not listening to your divine guidance that you're getting. I feel like the focus card is also pinpointing for you to focus on what it is that you can learn from these situations versus how they have, you know, hurt you. You know, focus on even through that pain, focus on the hopefulness of what the next situation could be. Because even at times you might be stuck in this negative or this lack mindset. Like I'm going to use love life as an example. Let's say you were hurt, you were cheated on, or you were abused. You might be stuck in this hopelessness that every person is like that you'll never be able to trust again, that you'll never be able to love again. And your guides want you to know that the situation is not that hopeless. That's the trauma, that's the pain, and that's the unhealed trauma and the unhealed pain and the unhealed heartbreak speaking. Okay, because there is hope. There's hope that you will never encounter anyone like that again. There's so much hope that you will be able to trust someone again. But you at times might get stuck in this like negative loop in your head that every person is like this, or every person's going to treat me this way, that I'll never be able to do this, I'll never be able to do that. And your guides want you to start focusing on, even in that regard, building up hope, which I'm not sure of how to correctly word it. So I hope like I'm coming through somewhat coherently, but your guides want you to have hope regarding whatever these hopeless situations are. Advice and guidance. Boundaries. Okay, boundaries. And I feel like the boundaries need to exist between you and other people in your life. The boundaries need to exist between you and you know, possible workplaces and careers, if this is, you know, healthy professional boundaries when it comes to your work life. And I feel like what's even more important is setting healthy boundaries with the other people within your life. Okay. at times I do feel like you get railroaded. Like at times you have other people in your ear telling you what they think that it is that you should do, and you're being urged to set boundaries with them. And what I love with these two cards, actually, and I'm going to say this before I start shuffling again, but they're both in these bubbles. And those bubbles, in and of themselves, are almost calling for you to protect yourself. To protect yourself, and also to begin to listen to your inner world and your inner guidance, and to begin to focus on your, your intuition, more so than focusing on these external opinions. I like the message here. Directly on brand with what we were talking about earlier. We have realization and we have darkness. And this goes back to what I've been saying about how at times you're not seeing the lessons that you were meant to learn. And that's not to mean that you didn't pick up any part of the lesson, but that is something that is coming through quite strongly here, which is why I keep saying it. You've had dark times, you've had shitty relationships, you've had failures within your career or your work, and so on and so forth. Whatever it is, again, that you're feeling, hopeless about, or whatever you need to focus on because you feel like it is an imbalanced part of your life. You need to begin to realize, again, the lessons from what it was that occurred, versus then constantly focusing on the darkness or the hopelessness that has occurred there. Okay, there's a lot of focusing on the pain and the trauma and the never being able to do this again or never being able to do that. There's a lot of focus on darkness, on hopelessness, on heartache, on failure, so on and so forth, versus realizing the lesson that this was supposed to teach you. Let's see if we can get another card. Change. Okay, the change card jumped out, and I feel like at the end of the day, that's basically what they're trying to call upon you to do, is to change your mindset surrounding some of these more difficult areas of your life, to begin to change your mindset, to focus on personal and spiritual growth, so that you can begin to see these silver linings, or that you can begin to see that, yeah, even though the lesson fucking sucked, it taught me this, and this. It taught me to, it taught me how to set boundaries, or it taught me that I should be setting boundaries. It taught me a valuable lesson about my self-worth. It taught me a valuable lesson about what I am no longer willing to settle for, and so on and so forth. There's almost a need to change the way in which you're speaking to yourself, and to change the way in which you are interpreting certain darker areas of your life. Okay? I hope that made sense. And, ooh, every time. Okay, so this will be the final card. Final card is purity, and I'm looking at that as purity of mind and of thought. Basically, again, needing to clear your head a bit, especially when it comes to this, needing to, almost like shit's happened, but there's a need for you to somewhat go back to the beginning. Go back to the beginning with the lessons that you have learned. And I feel like perhaps the best example that I could give of what I'm trying to convey right now goes back to love life. But again, I feel like the lesson, or hopefully what I'm about to say, you can put it toward whatever aspect of your life this makes sense for. But again, going back to that, I've been cheated on in the past, and now I will never, ever, ever trust another person with my heart. You're being urged to heal, or to get yourself to a point where you recognize how hopeless that like what you're telling yourself is. You're going back to think, let's say, you're being urged to go back to thinking purer thoughts of, I can trust again, or I can learn to trust again, or I can heal and I can change my mindset. and I can give this person a chance. I can trust. So on and so forth. So I hope that that somewhat made sense. But I feel like it's even in regard to you looking at certain failures within your career. Like if you keep telling yourself, oh, I tried to get into this and I completely failed at it. I'm never going to do anything like that again, or I'm never going to go into business for myself again, or I'm never going to try again. And I feel like that's a huge aspect actually of this reading as a whole. In whatever aspect of whatever imbalanced aspect of your life this is talking about, there's this feeling of I'm never going to do that again. I'm never going to try. And you're being urged to begin to change that mindset. You know, you're being urged to change that mindset because as soon as you stop trying, you're not going to be making any progress in any areas of your life. And I want to briefly put myself on hold. Okay. So I just wanted to hold because I actually, not to sound like a dork, but I saved this post on Reddit yesterday because what it was so, I can't say the word right, but it's poignant, or however the hell you say the word. And I saved it because I was like, I feel like this is something that I need to look back at when I need it most. And now I'm filming this, and it is an absolute, perhaps perfect way to end this reading before I get into the confirmation messages. And the reason why I saved this was the last sentence of the post that says, "It's only a failure if you stop trying. Otherwise, it's just an experiment." Okay, and I feel like that is a perfect place to end this. So now looking for confirmation, we have threes, 333, 33, the number 3, and the number 9. So if you've been seeing a lot of 9s and a lot of 3s, that could just be some further confirmation that this message is for you. There are literally so many 3s, 1, 2, 3, 4, just from the oracle cards, and then 5 and 6 from the tarot cards. So 3s are a huge number here, as well as 9s. That's a repeating number as well. One thing that's coming through again is birds. So everybody's got birds, but these specific birds would be cardinals and seagulls, as well as white flowers, like a nice white daisy is another thing that's coming through here as confirmation, as well as butterflies. Okay, so that is pretty much it, pile 3. Thank you so much for allowing me to read for you. I hope that I was able to give you some clarity and some insight from this reading. Thank you so much for being here, and I hope that you have a wonderful day.